Welcome to See You on the Other Side, where the world of the mysterious collides with the world of entertainment. A discussion of art, music, movies, spirituality, the weird, and self-discovery. And now, your hosts, musicians and entertainers who have their own weakness for the weird, Mike and Wendy from the band Sunspot.
I missed talking to you, Wendy.
Oh, I miss talking to you too, Mike, even though we still talk to each other every day.
Right, but I also miss talking to everybody out there who has been faithfully waiting for the latest See You on the Other Side podcast since the last time we put up a new episode proper was February of 2020.
Oh my goodness. And if you still are subscribed to our feed, thank you. And thank you for being so patient and waiting it out because we're back.
Yes, it has been a while. We kind of wanted to catch up with what we've been doing for the past year and a half. We haven't just been resting on our obviously well-earned laurels.
I mean, it's funny because, it's 2021, well, the end of 2021, and it's almost like something happened last year, or I don't know.
Yeah, and we're doing our best to forget whatever happened last year. But just because we were at home for a lot of it doesn't mean that we just sat around. So it's been a while since we actually did an audio podcast, but we wanted to keep busy with a whole bunch of other stuff going on. And so...
Yeah, we did pivot a bit during the...
Right.
What was it? The Great Pause?
Yeah, the Great Reset.
Yeah, the Great Reset. That's right. But Mike, just in case somebody new might have just happened upon this episode...
Yeah.
We should probably introduce ourselves quickly.
Okay.
Do a little reintroduction, maybe?
Yes. So I'm Mike, and I'm the singer and the bass player in an acoustic guitar performer in a band called Sunspot. And we like to sing about weird and interesting and paranormal themes. And also I have a company called American Ghost Walks, where we explore those paranormal themes in different locations in 6 different states. And so it kind of combines those two things I love, haunted history or weird stories and paranormal, and rock and roll music. And so See Another Side is the way that we can delve into those topics as well as get some inspiration for our music.
Yeah. And I'm Wendy. I'm also in the band Sunspot. And I guess I'm along for the adventure. But yeah, in addition to the paranormal discussions that we have here, we use those discussions, we get inspired by them, and we channel that inspiration into music, songwriting. So the band has a lot of songs that have grown out of discussions we've had here and experiences we've had throughout the travel that we've done. Travel that we've just done with the band that happened to have paranormal encounters, all that kind of fun stuff. So here at See You on the Other Side is where we take that all, we package it up into a nice bundle, and we put a bow on it, and we put the dear listener's name on the tag, and that's you. That's you.
That's right. So that's right. It's a Christmas present. And so if you guys want to check out episode 0, we have 200 some episodes. We have up to episode 294 is where we kind of took a break on the See On the Other Side podcast feed. And so, there's 295 different episodes to listen to if you're interested in learning more about our adventures from 2014 to early 2020.
Yeah.
And so early 2020, we were getting all excited about going to South by Southwest for the 15th year in a row we would have gone. And then all of a sudden, South by Southwest was canceled.
Yeah, and we were scheduled actually to leave on Friday the 13th of March.
Right, it'd be perfect.
So that was exciting for us because, what better day to kick off a tour than Friday the 13th. And we were, as usual, we'll have like the main event, which is our performance during the South by Southwest festival. And then we'll schedule our tour and plan events around that. So, we had been booking shows and stops on the way down there to explore things. And we were pretty pumped about it and really looking forward to it because this year we had a special event that we were working on with another podcast, the Night Owl podcast.
The Night Owl, yeah.
Based out of Austin. So we were going to do a whole paranormal, we were going to have the paranormal corner of South by Southwest.
Right. We worked on a whole thing for it, and then to have that blow up sucked because we put a lot of time into it.
Yeah, and it would have been really exciting to get to meet more people from the paranormal world down there during that time when we're there to perform music and do other things. But when we found out that South by Southwest was canceled, we had to decide, what do we do? Because, when everything went down, Mike, remember that?
Yeah.
Like, nobody knew what was going on. People were being told to not come to work, to not go out in public, to like sanitize your groceries after you picked them up from the store. Everything was weird and different. And after the festival canceled, I just want to say that there were a lot of people in Austin that were still trying to accommodate us, with knowing that we had a plan to go down there. And I just want to thank the people that tried to, they were still like, hey, if you guys want to play, if you're still planning on coming down, we'll have you and stuff. So obviously that did not end up happening, but it was cool that people were, so flexible and trying hard for us. So we'll have to make that paranormal thing happen though.
Yes, we will sometime at a future. We'll have a big Austin party sometime in the future. But the thing is, it's like it's funny when you go back and remember what it was like, because we even had a coronavirus episode, in January.
That's right.
And we're like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, we were just following like whatever the World Health Organization was spewing.
Right. Until we found out the World Health Organization was in on it. Like all the things that we said at the time, like I take it back. That podcast needs to be redacted.
I know. But the thing is, like, that's kind of what this has been like. It's a brand new thing that nobody fully understands, and we're just learning as we go. And it's like we've been through it, and we know a lot more now than 2 years ago, obviously. But who knows what we don't know that we still have yet to learn. So
right, we're learning as it comes. You find out the whole. As things, we're like, no, it wasn't made by the Umbrella Corporation. Blah blah blah. The whole thing. It's just a coincidence that the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Like, it's not the whole thing. It's not going to turn out to be Resident Evil. And guess what? It turned out to be Resident Evil. And here we are, though. At least the zombies haven't showed up yet.
Yet.
And that's what's coming. But
we're fortified in case they do. We're fortified because we all built our little quarantine cabins like during the lockdown.
Right.
So, right?
Yeah.
You've got your zombie stick, don't you, Mike?
I got a bunch of zombie stuff. Plus, I have enough toilet paper to last me until the next presidential election.
You hoarded.
Please. We get Amazon Subscribe and Save or whatever. So don't blame me if Jeff Bezos sent me your toilet paper.
No, but I did. There were some very dangerously dire straits at the beginning of the pandemic when the shelves were cleared and like.
Yeah, I had to use books I didn't like. I'd be like, okay, which book do I never care if I read again, or if it I disagreed with the author philosophically. I'm like, no, I know what to do with them.
Oh man, those pages are scratchy though.
But definitely not 2-ply. So, yeah, I mean, and so since we didn't know what was going to happen, the school was canceled. We all stuck at home. They told us not to leave, the whole thing. So we decided that we would pivot to video, and we didn't just and how we would operate if, even though we were only a few miles away from each other, how we're going to continue to create, even if we couldn't all be in the same room.
Right. And that includes our other bandmate, Ben, who's our primary guitar player in the band. So we had to, Sunspot, we've been rehearsing weekly for pretty much, our entire career.
Right.
And so all of a sudden it was like, oh, we're not supposed to, it's dangerous to go out there. So instead of having that weekly time where we jam together and practice our songs, it was like, okay, what are we going to do? We have to keep the creative flow going here.
Yeah. Well, and we did that in a couple ways. Number one, we didn't want to lose what we had going on with the podcast, and we didn't want to lose what we had going on with music. So then we just started putting on Thursday nights. We would have our Thirsty Thursdays where we get together, and we would make at least one video the week before, a performance of us playing a song live, all of us individually from home, put it together into a video format, and then play it out for everybody. And then we would play that during a live stream and interact with people back and forth. And most of the time I just drank too much whiskey, and talk to people on Facebook.
But yeah,
And
they were videos of, some of them were like songs that we already had and we just made a different arrangement of it. Or then we, of course, wrote a bunch of new songs as well. But it was really, I gotta say, that's some of the weirdest, like, collaborative effort that we've done, because just, everybody creating their own parts separately. And it's like, we're sort of playing together because we're in each other's headphones. But I don't know, Mike, how did you find that experience? Like, just performing for the camera alone.
I thought it was stupid. The purpose. The purpose of, I think, rock and roll music is you play it together. It's different than electronic music, which electronic music never exists as a sound wave made from something. It's like it's digital, and then all of a sudden it comes out of the when it comes out of the computer, or it comes out, then it exists as a sound.
But it exists. It's fully in the computer, like start to finish, is what you're saying.
Right. So it doesn't exist like in the air.
Like a string playing.
Yeah, the music that we play normally exists in the air. So you hear a drum, like when you hear the snare drum hit, you hear it because Wendy's hitting something in real life. Mm-hmm. I hit a guitar string. Yes, it's got to come through an amplifier, but it's not. It's still, the sound is created on the guitar, and then it might be changed as it comes through, and then comes to the air into your ear. And that's how we're used to, even when we're in the studio, Wendy and I play together to make sure that we match up with the rhythm and things like that. And so even when we're in a big studio and creating something, we're still playing together. And that's kind of what we lost when you're doing something piece by piece. It's fun, and you can make it perfect, and you can do all those kind of things because you can play with it. And we did have a great time and worked really hard making those videos. But why I joked around as stupid, the essence of the kind of music that we play is meant to be, we're all together in a room, it's coming at you, and that's the most fun way to enjoy it.
Yeah, that's the purest form.
Right. It's like, I don't know, it's like the difference between good coffee and mediocre coffee. I mean, probably is the best way to describe it. Good coffee is when we're in the room together playing, and mediocre coffee is when we're doing it through headphones.
Well, I agree. It's not even close to the same thing. So, when we were doing it, it was like I personally took the philosophy of just trying to create something fun for people, because when we shared them at the Thirsty Thursdays, people really seemed to enjoy them, and we had a nice positive feedback. So I just thought, like, okay, it lacks the energy and the fun of being obviously on stage with my bandmates, with a crowd that's, feeding energy to us and vice versa. But instead it's, okay, we're creating something very unique and one of a kind weird performances. That's all I can say. It's just weird. So it was a learning experience.
Yes. And you guys can check all those out on our YouTube channel, which links right from sunspotmusic.com. We made 50 just on music videos alone. We made 50 of them in the time frame. And at the same time, right up until the end of last year, every Tuesday we were doing a paranormal discussion on Paranormal Tuesday. So we were keeping that going as well, so that we could keep talking to people. And it started out like, with Wendy, I just doing like another Thirsty Thursday on Tuesday or whatever. But then we started bringing people in for conversations. And so we started interviewing people on Tuesday nights and picking topics. And that became like something we would do because we couldn't get together in real life. And so that kind of, the podcast kind of moved to that for a while. So that's another thing you can see on the Other Side Podcast, our YouTube channel. And you can find that at othersidepodcast.com. And then I'll have a link to the YouTube channel. And then it has a link to all the videos we made. So in addition, if you go to the Sunspot channel, you can see all the music we made. We wrote some new songs and all things. And I'm proud of those. It just, it is a product of its time. And it was a lot of fun to do. And it really kept us busy and excited and distracted from the madness of the world around us.
That's true. We all kind of created our little improved home studios. And I think, Mike, we all got a little better at home recording as well. Like throughout the year, we had a lot of practice, and we learned a lot like as we were going along. So I feel like that was something good to come out of it. If it's possible to find something good, there's something there.
No, I mean, I think we did. I think we found the best of the situation. And since we couldn't play, in public the way rock and roll is meant to be done, like in front of people and the whole thing, it was a good way to still have a live experience, have some kind of untethered experience, because we didn't know what was going to happen when you're, into the Thirsty Thursdays. The conversations got, a little wild every once in a while.
Oh yeah, our polls were pretty popular, having people vote on.
And so we really tried to create a new way of hanging out with everybody. So this podcast is a certain way, or was a certain way for a long time, of one-way communication. And so we moved it to two-way communication during the pandemic, and we had a good crowd of people we'd see every week to share that with. And so, we're hoping to bring some of that into our next journey in podcasting and stuff like that. So, it was funny because we saw each other at the beginning of March in 2020, and then we didn't see each other again until May 30th. So that was the longest we'd gone without practicing, first of all, actually being in the same room together. That'd be the longest we'd gone on it since 1996, since June of, probably earlier than that, since probably, June of 1996 is the longest we'd gone of Ben, Wendy, and I not being in the same room. And then at the point they started to do social distancing, so we recorded an entire set, having to be 6 feet apart from each other or whatever. I mean, whatever the rules were, because there really were rules that we had to be 6 feet apart from each other. And then we're putting ourselves on video. So like, we don't want to be breaking the rules on, like, we're recording ourselves. We don't want to be breaking like some Dane County, Wisconsin laws.
Yeah. And that was when we did the 7 at 7, right?
Yeah. We did 7 songs.
Live performance. So that was sponsored by a venue in Wisconsin Dells, the Crystal Grand Theater. And they were helping out, which I thought was really cool. I mean, since they couldn't have shows anymore, they were promoting other bands by having them do performances online, and they would share the concert with their whole social media and everything, which is a nice way to kind of give something, help out a little bit with the bands that are not playing live.
Yeah, and what's funny is so instead of just doing, like, we could just set up a camera and have us play live and have it be it. Of course, we weren't going to do that. We had to make it as difficult as possible. So we set up 3 cameras. We recorded it. We set up cameras ourselves, put them on, recorded it ourselves, and then I came home and edited it. So we started in the morning, and then the show went on at 7 p.m., and the editing was finished at 6:58. Is kind of how close it came. So we decided to go for it and put on a 3-camera production, just like we'd be in a TV studio for our first get back together. Because number one, I just didn't want it to be like, okay, let's turn on the camera. It's a regular kind of live stream. We're in the same room. Like, it was really great that we went for something really hard if it's going to be our first time back.
Well, it was like having 3 cameras, except that there were no camera operators. So it was us sprinting between cameras to make sure they were still running throughout the performance. And anyway, that was fun. It was fun. We had some nice feedback, and just knowing that people were watching live and everything was cool. And we did another performance live during the quarantine part of the pandemic for a website called Storytown Sessions. And they were also featuring rock bands they have this giant barn where they have a big stage and everything. And so that was cool because we actually, we didn't record it ourselves. They actually broadcast it live, and we were actually playing live through a full sound system. So it was the full rock band. It wasn't just, like an acoustic version, which is when we recorded ourselves, which is what we did. But that was the first full band loud rock concert that we had done since we played at McAuliffe's in February of 2020. So
we played February 28th, 2020. And then that was the last time we actually played electric until in August. In August, we did that thing. That was cool because it was like an arena sound system in a guy's barn.
Yeah, it was really fun.
And
it was also socially distanced, so everybody had the masks on and everybody was keeping their distance, but it still had a tinge of that live concert feel. There were a few people in the audience, just the crew and everything, but even that small amount of audience energy, and then seeing the live feed streaming, we could see people's comments and stuff. So that was a nice little treat.
Yeah, and then we finally had an actual show where we played in front of a crowd on Halloween of 2020. And Wendy and I did an acoustic show here in Madison at the Old Brick Garden. And it was a beautiful Halloween night being out. It was like 55 degrees or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
For October 31st. That is a great night.
It was perfect.
So it was, I mean, really, it was
full moon and everything.
Yeah. And then live performances. That was about it. That, in some places it came back earlier rather than later. Obviously outdoor stuff, but then, everybody's got their own comfort level. Everybody's got whatever they read and think and all that kind of stuff. And so when you're trying to maneuver between everybody's beliefs, fears, worries, all that kind of thing, you end up just trying to navigate a whole bunch of different things so you can still create and have a band, even when, some people, and some people still aren't, we've had festivals now and things like that. And I think everybody will come back to their own, people will come back at their own rate, and you're just not gonna, you can't force somebody to do anything. You got to be like, when you're comfortable, let's party kind of deal. But yeah, so the live performances, and then we still had fun with our Patreons and things like that. And so if you're a Patreon and you're listening to this, we love you deeply and
oh my
grossly.
Gosh, thank you. I think the Patreons were key to our getting through this without being severely damaged. Like,
yes,
it was truly like getting to communicate and hang out with and still have that interaction with people throughout the entire time was I thought it was. That was just huge. So thank you.
Yeah, really. I don't think you learn the value of that community until, because we're so used to. We're evolved to have communities where we see each other in person. We're evolved to have community. That's the human thing. Like looking at someone, and we make jokes about Zoom meetings that they're really like more like a seance because you're always asking, "Can you hear me? Are you there?" It's like trying to talk to the dead. But it's a human interaction. It's looking at a person face to face and not without a mask or something like that. So you can see the way their mouth moves, the way it's funny. There are people. Okay. So in Madison, Wisconsin here, we still have to wear masks when we go to the gym, and I will see people outside the gym and I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
They'll be like, "Hey, Mike, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Hey, dude." So, we're just made for that kind of thing. And so, but the online communities, which I think I took for granted before, not being able to see people and stuff like that, really, I found a powerful way and really helpful way of getting through. So you can see how they can be something really, really valuable. And I don't think I'll take them for granted again.
No, and never. And the thing is that, like, we were all going through this crazy, weird, in many ways, horrible thing together. And just, having that group to chat with and to, like, I felt like we really got to know people a lot better than we have in the past because we were all kind of sharing our concerns and, the weird things that were happening in all of our lives, like, during this time. So yeah.
Great.
So thank you, Patreon members and the friends who stuck with us.
Right. Okay. So in addition to that, there were some things that were fun, like the online Pericon. There was the Para-Unity in Minnesota, based in Minnesota, but they had people all over the country attend. And then we did some videos. Since we were supposed to play at that Pericon, we ended up doing some videos from some haunted locations in Madison, where we were able to record some songs and things from Resurrection Cemetery here in Madison or Sanatorium Hill. No, it wasn't Resurrection Cemetery. It was Forest Home. I'm sorry, because Resurrection is the Catholic cemetery on the other side.
Right.
But Forest
Very
Home
close,
has to go. Right, it's literally the other side of the street. Resurrection Cemetery is where Chris Farley's buried. Forest Home has the northernmost Confederate cemetery in the United States, because where the Badgers play, Camp Randall, ended up being a POW camp, prisoner of war camp in the Civil War. But unfortunately, the people at Camp Randall didn't do a very good job about being a prisoner of war camp. Dysentery went through the camp, just like Oregon Trail or whatever. And a ton of people died, and then everybody had to be moved to a different prisoner of war camp because they couldn't handle it at Camp Randall.
Maybe Camp Randall should be the next place we play. Next haunted location.
Camp Randall is a haunted location. It definitely is there, and because all the Confederate soldiers that died there. There's a reason. I mean, people ask, why would you see Confederate soldier ghosts at Camp Randall? People who don't know the history. They're like, that seems ridiculous. Wisconsin, there was never a battle in the Civil War. Well, it's because a whole bunch of Confederate soldiers did die there. So that kind of thing. Anyway, so that was a fun thing, and it was fun to go to these different places and play acoustic. And normally we would just be playing in a convention hall, right? We were supposed to, like the Duluth Convention Center. And then the week after that, we did an online Pericon from Milwaukee, and we're able to do a lot of really fun things for that. All that stuff is available online. That's on the YouTube. That's American Ghost Walks YouTube. You can find all of the presentations from the Milwaukee Pericon, including our Sunspot presentation and stuff where we tell ghost stories about Milwaukee and cool different people like MJ Banias from Mysteries Decoded.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then also, got to interview John Tenney and talk to him about all the weirdness that he finds, and he finds the weirdest shit you can find.
Right.
And that's always great. So that's kind of stuff. And so, okay, we're still stuck at home. You can't have a group of 200 people together or something like that. We're finding ways where we can still connect people and talk about the paranormal and have it be interactive.
And it was fun.
It has been fun. And some more fun like that. The Sage Pericons with MJ and Carl and Corin, their Sage tribe. We've done 3 of those so far.
The happy hours were the Sunspot happy hours.
Right. So
those were a blast.
we show up for the happy hour and crash the party. Usually literally. And
they kept inviting us back too, so that's the really curious part.
Right. I think everybody likes the rubberneck around a car crash, and so that's what they are hoping to see. And usually I end up providing that. But some other things were really great. I mean, back when COVID was kind of letting up, or Wisconsin, they were loosening up some restrictions and things. Last September, we did a video for I Don't Want to Be a Ghost, which we originally wrote for the See on the Other Side podcast, and then we we did a investigation at a place called
a haunted
mansion, and so we put that kind of stuff up, and that was fun to be together. And then kind of we were just in the beginning of the year, we were just trying to figure out what was going on, and then shows started happening again by Memorial Day.
Yeah.
We were able to have performances and stuff, and you were able to give people hugs without everybody looking at each other.
That was so weird that weekend.
Because everybody's just because it really was, at least in Madison, the area we're from, live music had returned. I mean, I know in other places around the country, especially when it was warm in the winter and stuff like that, everything seemed back to normal, and that's awesome. But not here or where we are. And so that was really the first weekend where you'd look at somebody, and then instead of doing that elbow, remember that elbow bump people would do? Hey, how you doing, buddy? And they're doing that now.
Yeah.
But at the time, we thought we could hug again, and have basic human interaction. And so that was the first time you see people, and then you kind of put your arms out and see where they were. And if they responded with an elbow, they're not your friend. No, I mean, they just... No, that was just the level of comfort they were at, right?
Oh, my gosh.
But I would say 98% of the people were just excited to be back with other humans and have that feeling, that communal experience in a rock and roll show.
Absolutely, for sure.
And so that felt great. And so Wendy and I did we did 3 performances, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We played every day that weekend.
We let her rip. The floodgates were open, and the music was back, and it was a really exceptional feeling.
And so, floodgates opened so much that Make Music Day on June 21st on the summer solstice, we played 5 shows at different parts of Madison.
We bounced around town.
They were all outdoors and things like that, so that was fun. But we really that's when it felt like, okay, things are, getting back to normal. And that was the point where the mask mandate in Madison stuff ended for the first time. And so then you were feeling okay, here we are, guys. We came out the other side. We said we'd see on the other side, and here we are. And then we got to see people, conventions came back to last summer.
Yes, live in-person conventions.
So we got to meet a lot of people in Duluth, Minnesota. We, perform and played at the VIP party, as well as did a show in the convention center, and then we got to hang out with some of our awesome Patreons.
That was the best part.
The Minnesotans, and so that was wonderful. And then a couple weeks later, we went down to
Ventured south to Alton.
Alton, Illinois, right? I keep it by St. Louis because you tell people Alton, they're not going to be like, oh, I remember that town from 19th century, Mississippi River stories. But Alton is a cute little town right next to St. Louis and has some, really cool paranormal stuff. And Troy Taylor and his Haunt America convention, and Troy's had us perform there, I think, the last 5 years.
Yeah. It was really fun. We played in the, atrium of the hotel and stuff when people were having lunch, and got to see a lot of familiar faces, and that just felt good to be back there. Always.
Yeah. And so then it really did feel like when we get into August, it really did feel like live music came back. We did a show with Everclear in Madison. That was a lot of fun. And then the week later, we went up to Michigan for the Michigan Pericon, and we played our full band both nights.
That was great too.
And so it was seeing a lot of people you hadn't seen in a couple of years, and
at a casino.
At a casino, right? At the casino, right? And the thing is, the casino had different, even had unexpected COVID regulations and stuff because they had deep cleaning at 3:00 in the morning, and that's when I start gambling.
Right, especially when you're playing all night. Like the band finishes, you put things away, and then it's like, all right, let's go hit the machines.
I got a full thing of cash. I'm ready to go. And they're like, you got to get out of here. I'm like, what are you talking about?
How are we supposed to get gas for the ride home? Come on.
Right. We're going to have to thumb our way home unless you let me gamble here.
Right. That
was fun. And then a couple weeks later, Summerfest in Milwaukee happened. And it happened in September, which is funny, right? Because Summerfest should be in end of June, early July is how it's been since 1970 when they had their first one.
Yeah.
And George Carlin got arrested for doing the 7 words you can't say on television. But, it's like the 50th anniversary of Summerfest, the 51st, and last year they didn't have it. And so once again, we got to perform with Everclear and open up for them.
That was one of my favorite shows of the year.
Yeah. It was really a great time. And so it was nice to see people and humans and have that kind of interaction and like a rock and roll show and everybody next to each other and talking and things. And that was great. And then a couple weeks after that, Milwaukee Pericon in person. And so we're seeing people once again in Milwaukee, human beings talking. I did a talk on something called Haunchyville, and that's one of our episodes.
Yes.
If you go back, you can talk about Haunchyville because I've been out to where the miniature murders are in Muskego. So it was a lot of fun to talk about that. And then that night, we even did an investigation at the Brumder Mansion from Milwaukee for the thing called the world's largest ghost hunt.
Yeah, we tried to summon some ghosts with some music. And that Brumder Mansion is something else. I had never been there before. I know you have, Mike, but I was really impressed by the place, and the owners had some pretty interesting ghost stories to share with us.
Yeah, I bet we'll do a See You on the Other Side from there at some point. We'll get back to the Brumder Mansion and
that'd
do
be
something
fun.
again.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was me and my sister Allison and Wendy's husband Scott. And so since we're all ghosties, we went for it and did about a 3-hour investigation, and Allison hypnotized me, and Wendy and Wendy was doing the
dowsing rods.
The dowsing rods were working, and she was freaking out. It was great.
It did freak me out.
And and then we did a long Estes Method session.
That's right. Yeah, we did all kinds of things that night.
Yeah, and so and that was the Estes Method. We really worked on that session at the Maxwell Mansion. And interestingly enough, now I haven't gotten good video evidence of this, but we have a lot of it recorded. But we were getting some fairly amazing responses on the Estes Method session.
Yeah,
not necessarily from ghosts or whatever, not necessarily from an entity, but you
just
have
interesting.
Yeah, so you take the Estes Method, and that basically was developed by Carl Pfeiffer and Connor Randall when they were at the Stanley Hotel, and they were like the house ghost hunters at the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado. And so that's where you're listening to a ghost box, which is a ghost box is it's like a modified radio that just scans through the channels, and you can set how it scans through the channels, fast, slow kind of thing. And the idea is that somehow messages can come through the static. And so you're listening to it, and the Estes method is only one person is listening to the ghost box. Everybody else is out of earshot, or you can't hear them. You're asking questions out loud, and the person is just saying what they hear through the ghost box. So that method, it takes away the everybody listening to it at the same time and seeing how it can be interpreted. It's one person's interpretation, and it's other people asking questions, and the person who's listening to the ghost box can't hear the questions. So when answers come back to questions they can't hear, that's when you start really getting interesting things. And that was one of the things we did at the Brumder Mansion. That's one of the things my sister did with our friend Max, who at the Maxwell Mansion, and they were getting some crazy. They were in separate levels, and in the separate level, they were hearing him say answers to the questions they were asking in a different room. And while that may not be the entity communicating with anybody, that's certainly implying that through the use of, and we talked about the Gansfeld and the whole, which is German for the whole field sensory deprivation. So your senses are completely deprived, and you are nothing else to distract you. And that's the idea of also the Estes method, is that there's nothing else to distract you. You're just listening through the static and saying what you hear. And even if it's not an entity coming through or a spirit or anything like that, the fact that you could have some kind of non-physical communication. I mean, I guess Wendy and I, since we're talking over Google Meet right now, we're having non-physical communication. But the idea that it's not like there's no way, there's no connection between the people talking to each other, that made it really exciting. Like, hey, we're seeing something here, and that happened with Scott was under the Estes at the Brumder Mansion too. Like he would answer some questions we were asking where there's no way he can hear it. And so that made me excited to explore those things more and spend more time at the Brumder Mansion.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then, in October, we did a great Halloween show at the Crystal Grand Theater, who had sponsored that acoustic show that where we just wrote, we performed, recorded, edited, and showed that all over the earlier May. In October, we got to open up for a band called the Gin Blossoms and Fastball. And first of all, those guys couldn't have been nicer.
Oh, yeah.
Which
really nice guys and great performers. Obviously, they have tons of experience, and they're really talented, and it was just so much fun to see professionals doing their thing.
Yes. And so those things were really exciting. That show was really great, and just talking to them about music and stuff like that and their experiences. I think the one thing, the lead guy in Fastball, the one thing he said that stuck with me. I mean, we were talking about Ronnie James Dio and Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath and stuff for a while. But the one thing that that he said that I thought was interesting, he was just like, well, and sometimes I think it's because Wendy and I have had some good shows, and everything, but we're at the level we're at, and we're doing our best, and we're having fun, and we're playing for people, and it's still great, and we're still all enjoying playing this music 25 years after we first shared a stage. And so that I know that's lucky, but a lot of shows are still very hard, or you're competing with stuff, or there's hardly anybody there. You're doing the whole thing, right? It's not some kind of rock star dream, but it's still fun. And so the guys from Fastball, really, he's like, that's awesome. You're together. You're playing your original songs. You're doing those things. And he goes, this is exactly, he's like, there's a crowd here. I'm able to do, and they were flown in for the show and stuff. He's like, we're able to be flown in and play in Wisconsin instead of just in Texas where they're from. He's like, we're able to play here because we got lucky. We got really lucky with an album that did really well 20 some years ago. And he goes, off that we can, tour and would live on it and all those kind of things. And he's like, but we'd still be doing that same thing even if that album didn't happen, even if we didn't get lucky in that album. And he's like, the important thing is if you're having fun and keep on doing what you're doing, he's like, that's the best thing you can ask for. Because there's a lot of people who you think are extraordinarily successful who aren't even happy doing those things.
It's true.
And I just took it. I was like, okay, I'll take, that's a piece of advice coming from somebody obviously who's got at least a decade on us, but also has been around, has been where, the last of kind of MTV popularity, you know?
Right.
At the end of the 90s, where you could have a song on MTV and
Or a radio hit.
Or a radio hit, right. And would catapult you somewhere where it doesn't have to be something, huge or YouTube viral, or something.
Right.
And so it just was an interesting phrase. It just felt like, okay, well, maybe we, even though sometimes driving in the middle of the night or playing for 6 people in some basement for free beer does make you question your decisions you've made in your life. It just made me realize how lucky we are to be able to still do the things we are, have an expanding audience, have a community, and all those kind of things, and how important that is to do that, to be able to do what we want. And so that was a really good lesson, I think, for me, at least.
It was a great experience. And the guys that we shared the dressing room with was fastball, and they were just cool. They didn't, sometimes they
weren't like, get out of the dressing room.
Yeah, the bigger bands can be a little like snooty to the locals sometimes, but
get out
there
of
was
my
none
dressing
of
room.
that. So props to them.
I mean, we found that even though with that band Granddad or whatever at Summerfest this year, when they took over our dressing room, everybody was really nice. They're like, "Oh, you done in here? Do you get your clothes on?" Where other people might have been like, "Hey, 3:00, they said it's done." They said I'm in. So it's nice when people actually act like human beings do.
Right. Seems like such a small thing, but yet we've experienced.
Right. It's
otherwise
a small thing to ask, but it just doesn't happen often enough.
Yes.
Often enough. So, I mean, we talk about positive things that happened or positive things we took from this. I think, number one, the Patreon community and the people who would tune into Thirsty Thursday or Paranormal Tuesday and just kept on paying attention and kept on hanging out. That really meant a lot, and it was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
The new friends we made from online things, from the Sage Pericon or the Milwaukee Pericon and things, that meant a lot,
Yeah.
And so the positive things were meeting some new people and learning a lot about, like when you're faced with adversity, what are we going to do? Let's sit down and let's make something happen.
Yeah.
And being able to find that in ourselves, I found that was a positive as well.
Yeah, I think, and then also just skill development, like the getting better at broadcasting online and getting better at doing the live casts as well as recording ourselves individually. Right. That's never been, something that we've had a lot of time to specifically work on. So that, and then, I took some of the extra time to work on my own like development as a performer, as a player. Just more time to practice instruments. So those are things that came out of it that were positive. But definitely, I think, Mike, you nailed it with the relationships and friendships with people that, either getting to know people better that we already knew or meeting new friends in a really strange, weird way. Right. But it's kind of a bond that we're going to have now forever. So
yeah,
that was a good thing to come out of it.
Yeah, I mean, some things like we saw these people at, the paranormal conventions that we had only seen online. It was like, oh, I already knew them. Because we'd spent time and you see their updates and things like that, and you communicate on the internet. You're like, okay, well, it wasn't like seeing somebody and being, oh, and what do you do again? So I thought that was a really powerful thing.
Yeah, so I mean, it's exciting that we're kind of getting back into a slightly more normal way of things again. And I'm looking forward to releasing some more episodes and doing a little bit more of paranormal exploration. There's so many leads that we have and things that we need to go check out and things that we want to do, like we've been talking about with the Estes thing and, other types of investigations. So I think we've got a lot ahead of us here in 2022.
Oh, yeah. And even we're going to get one more episode out for you before the end of the year, and about something that's near to us, but also near and dear to us that I think is going to be fun doing. And then as we get into 2022, we're going to have some new episodes and new things to talk about. And so that's going to be a great chance for that. And then some new music. Obviously, we're going to the recording studio. And so we're going to be releasing a new album in 2022 as well, and getting back and playing shows and all those kind of things. So
Yes.
Yeah, we just want to hang out, and if you want to learn about all of those things, and if you're like, hey, you were just on my podcast feed, and so I didn't even know you were still alive. Like, if you would want to know regularly what we're up to, how would we be able to do that?
Oh, there's a number of ways you can do that. You can join the Sunspot newsletter email list at sunspotmusic.com, and you'll get a monthly update of everything related to Sunspot, See You on the Other Side, all the live events and things upcoming. So I'd recommend that. You can follow us on Twitter at Sunspot Music. Or if you want to check out all the episodes and the show notes and everything from all of like the almost 300 episodes we have, othersidepodcast.com is your source for everything. And you'll find the links to Sunspot and all the rest there as well.
Yeah, so really keep in touch and that kind of thing, because 2022, we're going to have a whole bunch of new paranormal content and music and video stuff for you that we can't wait to do.
Yes.
And so, yeah, we're going full force into this next year. And this is now we're in the third decade of the 21st century. So I mean, the future's here, guys. Like, that's it. Like, we're past the year that Blade Runner was supposed to have happened. So the future is here, and it's not quite what anybody expected, right? But that doesn't mean we still can't have a good time and still can explore these concepts that are fascinating through the lens of interviews and discussion, as well as art and music.
Yeah, and thanks for sticking with us. If you did, if you're new and you never heard us before, we're happy to meet you. Please join the fold. Come and say hi to us on Facebook or anywhere online on the socials. And we will look forward to all that is to come. That it?
Yeah. I think that was a good... Oh, that was a stinky one. Okay.
Oh, nasty.